One of the things I really enjoy about our organization and our activity is that we can pull in some really wonderful speakers from all over the United States. And today we are blessed to have Reverend Dr. Jane Simmons from Kettle Falls, Washington. And Jane was telling me today that that's north of Spokane if you have your geography with Washington State. And I believe that's on the east side of the Cascades, but it's certainly a pretty area. And she's speaking with us today on After Enlightenment, the Laundry. And I'm just real eager to hear what she has to say. Um, Jane has a doctorate degree in theology from Holos University and is an ordained Unity minister. And before she retired from the pulpit in 2020, she had ministered 4 Unity churches, as well as serving on the international team ministry coordinator for Unity Worldwide Ministries. She's currently a member of the adjunct faculty for Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute, and along with her husband, Gary, co-facilitate the Integral Mystery Ministry Certificate Program. We welcome you, Jane. It's nice to see you back, and it's always a delight to have you. You're on, and you're muted.
Yep. Well, thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank you. It's such a delight to be back with you as we're moving into the fall season. And it's been a long time since I've been able to hang out with you wonderful folks. So I'm delighted to be here with you. I may be turning off my camera if the bandwidth here is, you know, giving me some grief. So if I do that, it's not because I'm going anywhere. It's just to use less bandwidth. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And uh, just to say, it always does my heart good to be with all of you. You know, this is one of my favorite places to speak. So delighted to be here. And as you heard, my talk title. Oh, where are you, talk title? Hang on a bit. Where'd it go? Okay, let's do that. Okay. My talk title is After Enlightenment, the Laundry. And this is wisdom that has been around since ancient times, because of course, this is a modern version of the Zen koan that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And what this means to me is that there's really no end point in our spiritual journey. It's ongoing. And in fact, the real work actually begins after a moment of this aha moment that we have, a moment of awakening to something greater, something we hadn't seen before. And now the work doesn't end there with the aha. Ken Wilber teaches that there are 4 aspects to spiritual evolutionary transformation. 4 aspects, or any kind of transformation. In this case, we'll look at spiritual evolution. And he names them as waking up, which is awakening to a new and deeper understanding of who we are. But then growing up. Growing up is our human developmental process that happens from birth right all the way till we breathe our last. It doesn't just end when we turn 21 and we finished our development. It goes throughout our lives. And then cleaning up, which is about working with and integrating the shadow material that may be still hanging around, dealing with some of the unfinished business from our past that is unresolved. And then finally, showing up, which is what happens when we do all that clearing out work. We can now show up in our wholeness as a whole being, making a difference in our world. So all those 4, and we can think of them as pillars, 4 pillars, and they're undergirding a living portal that we can move through. If we're working all of those practices, it opens up something for us to move through and to become more. And Ken points out that typically in spiritual communities, there's there's a focus on waking up and showing up, waking up to something greater, greater reality, and then from that consciousness, making the world a better place in some way by showing up. So typically those two things are really focused on in spiritual community, whereas the growing up, cleaning up, they are typically found within the psychological realm. And he cautions that the spiritual communities of the future will need to incorporate all four if they want to remain relevant in our world, if they want to help with their transformation of humanity, because it's all about personal transformation as well as community and global, beyond community transformation. And I have taken his words to heart. When I read that, I thought he's got a really good point here. And in our integral ministry program, we teach this to all our students. By the way, I love the integral mystery program better, by the way, Doug, the way you read it. So today I thought I would spend some time in the seldom visited realm of cleaning up. Nobody likes to, hang out here. But we want to see what those who have traveled the path of awakening and left us a trail to follow, what they can tell us about cleaning up. And what can the stories or the teachings they left behind guide us in that kind of work? So we want to begin with the moment we read about in the book of John, when Jesus is baptized by his cousin John the Baptist. And in that scriptural account, at that moment, with great fanfare, what happens? The Holy Spirit descends, the heavens open, the infinite proclaims, "This is my Son, in whom I'm well pleased." Now imagine getting that kind of feedback from the universe. Wouldn't you want to go out and celebrate, maybe party a little bit, feel some pride, feel good about that? I mean, that's definitely what my ego would be shouting at me to do. But is that what Jesus did? No, he headed to the desert for 40 days of fasting. And so his ego must have been screaming at him, "What are you doing? This is where that feasting comes in. Forget the fasting." But when we look at this story through mythic eyes, when we look through the lens of metaphysics, it tells us this. When we have an awakening, an aha moment, where we see something we hadn't seen before, where we have maybe a breakthrough comprehension that can bring forth transformation, it's not the time to decide we're complete. It's not the time. Rather, it's time to look even deeper, to see where this compulsion I may have to, tell the world that I've arrived. Well, that's probably the next hurdle for me to overcome on my continuing journey of self-realization. That desire to say, "Woohoo, I've made it." So what did Jesus do in those 40 days? Well, he faced his temptations. And let's take a little closer look at those, because they're all egoic traps. You can have all the power of the world. You can turn stone to bread. Finally end your fast. You must be starving. You can prove your worth to us by having angels save you when you dive headlong from the pinnacle and that you find yourself on. Show us how important you are. And so you can see how these kinds of things are what the ego is kind of telling us to do here. Go ahead and do that. Interestingly, the Buddha had a similar experience in his awakening journey. The demon Mara, who was the ruler of desire and illusion, saw the Buddha's awakening as a threat, a direct challenge to Mara's illusory control over the human mind. So he tried to seduce him with beautiful women. When that didn't work, he tried to frighten him with terrifying visions, and then finally to sow doubt in his own worthiness, his ability to stay the course. Mara tried to erode the Buddha's self-worth. And of course, the Buddha overcame all of it. So when we have those moments of clarity, spiritual growth, deep wisdom, understanding, we need to watch for the resulting boomerang effect that can happen. Spiritual pride, testing God, addictive behavior that shows up, fear, doubt, unworthiness that can scare us away from this more expansive awareness. Do you recognize any of these? Especially I recognize the fear, the doubt, the unworthiness, how that can just kind of show up now and get in the way of continuing with the transformative work. Because during this vulnerable time, you see, when we have grown beyond where we were in our understanding, but we're not securely situated in this new developmental stage, then we have a really good opportunity to pay attention to what may be getting in the way of us totally transcending what was, and then we clean up whatever that blockage is that's sabotaging our success. Because without doing that, we can't reach for anything new if our hand is full of yesterday's stuff at all. And without doing this, we don't have a chance of transforming our outer world if we don't do the internal work first. We have to start here. It's not all that we do, but if we don't start there, we're not going to change what's out there. I read an Anglican bishop, I read about him, who discovered this truth too late in life, because written on his tomb are these words: "When I was young and free and my imagination had no limits, I dreamed of changing the world. And as I discovered the world wouldn't change, I sharpened my sights somewhat. I decided to change only my country, but it too seemed immovable. And as I moved into my twilight years, in one last desperate attempt, I settled for changing my family, those closest to me, but alas, they would have none of it. And now, as I lie on my deathbed, I realize if I'd only changed myself first, starting here, then by example, I would have changed my family. From their inspiration and encouragement, I would have been able to better serve my country. And who knows, maybe even change the world." But so if we don't start within and do the cleanup work, we won't make change in the outer world, because the outer world is a reflection of what's within us. So it's all about internal transformation first. James Redfield writes, "For us to truly know our mission on earth, we have to be willing to eliminate whatever is contradicting our inner truth. We need to discover and address what is unresolved from our earlier years that may be blocking our evolutionary development in life. And that comes from this cleanup work of integrating our unfinished business from the past. And if we don't, then the effect of those negative experiences, it won't go away. That stuff doesn't go away. Unresolved issues remain alive under the surface of our awareness, and they sap our energy. We get stuck in life. We can't move forward with an unhealed past. We need to become aware of when the ego is in charge, when we become triggered by someone, when we're being judgmental or blaming or critical both towards others and ourselves. And those triggering moments are golden opportunities for us to uncover what kind of beliefs are still lurking in our consciousness, because those beliefs will sabotage our success until we do. Let me say that again. Those beliefs that are under the surface will continue to sabotage our success in creating whatever it is we want in our life, in transforming ourselves. The sabotage is going to get in there, because if I have a belief, if I have an affirmation that tells me I am successful, but I have a belief that I'm a failure, which one's going to win out? The belief is going to win hands down every time. So we have to get in there and make that change and see what's lurking in there for us to deal with, to resolve finally. And again, from James Redfield, he says this: "Our beliefs are the story we tell ourselves inside. And that story winds up on the newsstand of our life. The stories we tell ourselves today become tomorrow's news in our lives." So beliefs are like an invisible blueprint in our world, in our lives. Carl Jung put it this way, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You'll call it fate. So the truth is that the story of our life, our fate, it's ours to write. But are we doing it either consciously or unconsciously? That's the big question here. And when we use triggering moments that happen to us in order to embody a deeper sense of who we've come here to be, it can help us to step out of who we are not, which is our fears, our feelings of inadequacy, low self-worth, insecurity, addictive behavior, all those temptations that we might face. That can help us when we deal with those triggers. And really, we're talking about these kind of hurdles that our awakened way showers have had to face and overcome. So they'll show up in our world and we'll call them fate. And this has far-reaching consequences in our lives, in our jobs, in our health, our relationships, our family life. I read recently in the Stoics meditation, make peace with your demons or they're going to raise your kids. What kind of bad news is that to think about? Oh, if we're not conscious of the patterns that are running our lives, they are going to be reflected back to us in the same way. And we will continue to live an unconscious, conditioned life connected to the past rather than the present. Live out of your imagination, not your history, says Stephen Covey. That happens as we learn to inhabit the ethic of integrating unresolved, painful moments from the past. And as we do, we become liberated from that past. We become free to create something new, something different, something greater, something better. Our life can change. So can we all be in agreement as to the importance of really discovering what's standing in our way of deepening our spiritual work and doing the integration work around it? Can we all be in agreement on the importance of that? Because if we don't, it's going to show up some way in our experience. But here's the thing. We do this work with total self-compassion, self-kindness, radical tenderness towards ourselves. Never judge self-judgment, not even a hint of self-condemnation. So clearing the past is linked to presently living mindfully and living joyfully. Fully present to the people, the situations around us, allowing whatever's showing up in the moment to give us the opportunity to transform, to grow, to expand, to evolve, to heal the past. Do you see the value of this and the necessity of doing this work? And when we learn to work through triggering moments while still remaining at peace, when we can stay connected during times of disagreement, when we can be loving and kind to ourselves and others, even in times of great stress, do you see that's what making the difference is all about? Do you see how important it is right now for us to be doing this work in our culture, in the greater culture? This is how we deal with the polarization that is rampant in our world right now. We start with that. We start with the polarization we have within ourselves, and we work outward from there. This is the advanced course, make no mistake about it, but it can lead us to creating a better world. Sri Aurobindo, the great spiritual teacher, said this: a spiritualized society would live like its spiritual individuals, not in the ego, but in the spirit, not as the collective ego, but as the collective soul. So imagine living as a citizen in a spiritualized society, in the spirit, as the collective soul. When we do this work and it spreads and it spreads and it spreads, that is what we're creating, a spiritualized society. So the good news is we have an internal teacher that can guide us in creating this kind of world, a universal personal tutor to show us the way through all of it, allowing life itself to coach us. That's what happens. We become coached by life itself, moment by moment. And by spending time in the silence, letting the heart guide us like a compass, we are shown the next step. We're just shown what to do. Learning to make a difference right where we are, right in the midst of whatever conflict may be around us or whatever's happening. We become that presence of peace as we allow life to coach us into being that presence in the moment. And, you know, making a difference right where we are. Make no mistake that our actions matter. Our actions matter in a great way. What we do matters. What you do matters. You know, a few years ago, I was in Canada. I'm from Canada, for a family reunion on my father's side. And at that gathering, someone brought this wonderful group picture taken from the last chapel reunion of 1951. And as I looked over the picture, I saw my parents as teenagers. I tried to put little arrows on here, but it just kept messing with the picture, so I couldn't do it. But they're both in there. They're not married yet. They're engaged, but they're not married yet. I saw my uncles as children. I saw my grandparents as young parents. I saw my great-grandparents as middle-aged. And I realized as I looked at that picture, and then I looked around at the 60 or so people that were at this gathering that I was at. We were all cousins. We were children of cousins. There were even some grandchildren of cousins. All of us were descendants of my great-grandparents, all the cousins. We were part of the family tree. And I saw that from two people starting a family. Excuse me a moment. From two people starting a family, their influence moved out and out and out and never ends. And I imagine the two of them being magically transported to that present moment I was in and seeing their children's 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 children and how that would feel to see what had been created through them. So you and I have that same sphere of influence. We have that same ability to be that sphere of influence. Our actions today have an endless ripple effect. And we may not even see their consequences during this lifetime. But rest assured, who you are and what you do matters in this world. And as our Anglican bishop said so eloquently, by transforming myself, I can, by example, transform my family. My family can affect the community, which can make a difference in the world. This ripple effect from one person's change of heart can have far-reaching consequences. One person's change of heart. Just imagine how far out that can go. One awakened person can help others to wake up. That was the Buddha's great lesson. His dying words are reported to have been, be lamps unto yourselves. Be lamps unto yourselves. You know, Thich Nhat Hanh once said that as a young monk, he was taught to practice mindfulness, staying present to what is. And he thought, well, here's the beginning. When I've been here a few years, I'll go and do something else. Well, no. What did he continue to practice throughout his life? Being mindful in the moment. Chop wood, carry water. Continue. Keep doing the work. And we can do the same thing. Being mindful of whatever's arising, using any kind of a triggering moment to uncover what's keeping us from expressing our full potential, from being who we've come here to be, and then doing the integration work with compassion, kindness, and tenderness towards ourselves, making the unconscious conscious so that we can stop meeting it as bait and becoming the presence of peace and harmony in our world, embodying the change that we want to see, being the light that shines the love to all that we meet. We become a living conduit for spirit and divine love in action. And truly, we become a change agent for a kinder world when we do this work. We clear the path for that love to come through. So there's not all that static of the past in the way. And as we do that, we bring order, we bring compassion to our world, to our little corner of the world. and it grows from there. So after enlightenment, the laundry. After an epiphany, after an awakening moment, get ready to send in the cleanup crew. And as we clean up our past, we can now show up day by day by day in our wholeness, truly being the change that we are seeking in the world. We can become that change in action. And one person's action can make all the difference. Can make all the difference. So know that as we join together, as we explore all of this, kind of work together, as we do this kind of work together, as we go to our hearts and allow our heart energy to grow and expand, we become the embodiment of peace and harmony in our world. And we share that. So let's take a moment right now and do that together. I'm going to invite us all. Stop sharing. And invite us all to take this moment to really notice what's happening in your body. And if you can do so, you want to maybe plant your feet firmly on the floor and move your attention to the soles of your feet. Notice how they feel being planted, grounded. Really inhabit this moment, inhabit your body. And then we just gently move our attention upward through the legs and the torso of the body, through the chest and the shoulders, the arms, hands, and then upward through the neck to the face and the head. Notice any places of tension throughout the body, and if you want to tense up that place in the body and release, go ahead and do that. And we begin to follow the breath in and out. With each breath, we relax a little more as we set aside anything that is keeping us from being present. Now imagine breathing right into your heart space. And if you want to put your hands on your heart, go ahead and do that. Just imagine you're breathing right into the heart. And as you do, bring into your mind's eye someone or something that you deeply appreciate. Maybe it's a beloved person in your life, or a cherished pet. Maybe it's a warm memory you have, or a place of beauty that always brings peace to your heart when you're there. Choose someone or something that activates a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude is a generative power, and we want to share that with the world. So feel that appreciation as it warms your heart and spills out beyond the heart, filling your body with a high vibration of appreciation. Feel every cell of your body lighting up, on fire, invigorated by this healing presence. Feel your aliveness. Now let that feeling grow and expand and radiate beyond your body, filling the room that you're in. Know that we are creating an energetic field of peace here, of harmony, gratitude, compassion. And it matters that when we are being the presence of peace, it is making the world a better place right now. Every one of us is here to be the one to make the difference in our world, our little corner of the world, to bring compassion and kindness to the world, to be the harbinger of love and peace, and to share that in a world that desperately needs our loving hearts. We open our hearts even wider in gratitude for the opportunity to be the change that we are seeking in the world, to be the embodiment of love. And for this, we truly are grateful. And so it is.